Hey guys, tonight on Boring History Episodes, we're not stepping into palaces or grand ballrooms. We're slipping quietly behind a velvet curtain into the narrow rooms of a Victorian brothel. No chandeliers, no romance, just the creak of a horsehair mattress, the smell of coal smoke and lavender water, and the women who woke here each day to make a living the only way left to them. Forget the velvet fantasies. A Victorian brothel was not champagne and silk, but peeling wallpaper, a scratchy wool blanket, and lavender water struggling to hide the damp. You wake in a cramped room, two beds squeezed side by side. The air is heavy with smoke and the sour breath of the Thames. Downstairs, porridge simmers, plain and thick, fuel for another long day. This is the story tonight. Not scandal, not glamour. Just the quiet routine of women surviving Victorian London. If this kind of slow, unpolished history feels oddly soothing, feel free to like the video, maybe even subscribe to my channel, but only if it truly fits your rhythm. And tell me, where are you listening from, and what time is it right now? There's a strange comfort in knowing people drift off together, from different corners of the world, into the same forgotten shadows. So now, dim the lights. Let the room soften. Turn on a fan if you like. That steady hum, like distant wind outside the window. Let your hands rest. Let your breathing slow. You're not rushing into this story. You're drifting down through layers of smoke, damp, and silence. And when you open your eyes again, it's London, 1857. The good news? You're alive. The bad news? Rent is due, your shoes are worn thin, and you work in a brothel. Part 1. The morning begins. You wake slowly, in a room that never feels fully warm. The air has a heaviness to it, the kind that clings to your lungs even before your eyes open. For a moment you lie still, listening to the muffled quiet of the house. It's not silence, not truly. It's the kind of quiet that holds layers, footsteps creaking 2 floors down, the faint hiss of wind through a cracked window frame, the echo of a city that never fully sleeps. Your mattress sags beneath you, pulling your body into a dip in the middle. It's stuffed with straw and horsehair, unevenly, so that lumps press into your ribs and hips in odd places. When you shift, it groans, a tired sound that belongs as much to the mattress as to you. It's not a bed for resting. It's a bed for passing time until you're called to work again. Beside you, another girl lies curled beneath a blanket that looks the same as yours. Thin wool, frayed at the edges, carrying the faint scent of damp stone. Her breath rises and falls unevenly. In this house, sleep is shallow. She mutters something in her dreams, a sound without shape, then turns, her hair spilling like dark threads across the shared pillow. You look at her for a moment, not with judgment, not with envy, just with the quiet understanding that her story too has folded into the walls of this house. The wallpaper surrounding you was once bright, patterned with roses. Now it peels at the corners, the reds faded into a brown that resembles dried leaves. The damp has left its mark, a faint trace of mold creeping where the wall meets the floor. When you breathe in, you smell it, mixed with smoke from the coal fires burning across the city, and the faintest sourness drifting from the River Thames. It is a smell that belongs to London itself, and once you notice it, you cannot unsmell it. Your feet touch the floor, bare skin meeting cold wood. The chill rises through your ankles, settles in your bones. It's a small shock, but not a surprising one. You expect it now. Morning in this house, rest in your lap. They feel rougher than you remember, small calluses forming where rings and laces rub. You rub your thumb over your palm, as if smoothing them could erase the evidence of what work has turned them into. It doesn't. The skin remains, as it always does, marked by labour that no perfume can hide. Lavender water sits on the small wooden table in the corner, a cheap bottle, its cork worn smooth. It is both luxury and necessity. A few drops on your wrists, your collar, sometimes even in the air itself. A veil of sweetness to cover what the city leaves behind. But even as you think of it, you know the truth. Lavender does not erase coal smoke. It does not erase sweat. It only delays the noticing. The house itself seems to breathe. Floorboards shift under unseen weight. Pipes groan faintly as water makes its reluctant climb. A door opens, then shuts. A cough drifts down the hall. Each sound blends together, the rhythm of a building that has known too many mornings like this one. You take in a slow breath. There is no rush here, but there is also no rest. The day does not demand urgency. It demands inevitability. Soon you will wash, in water drawn cold from a basin. The porcelain is chipped, the water sharp against your skin. You will dress, not in the clothing of your choosing, but in the uniform expected of you. A gown chosen for what it suggests, not for how it feels. It will pull at the shoulders, tighten at the waist, remind you of its presence with every breath. And then, by midday, you will wait. You will sit in the parlour, where the curtains are heavier and the air carries the scent of cheap perfume and burning oil. You will smile under a name that is not your own, a name crafted for the role, polished for the transaction, but never belonging to you. This is the hardship of the morning. Not violence, not scandal, but the slow erosion of comfort. The quiet recognition that even waking, even eating, even dressing are parts of the labour. Part 2. Waiting in the parlour. The parlour is where the day stretches itself thin, not with action, not with drama, but with waiting. And waiting is its own kind of labour. You walk down the narrow stairs, one hand trailing along the rail polished by 100 other palms. At the bottom, the air is different, heavier. The scent of yesterday lingers, sweetened perfume mixing with stale smoke, and something sour you'd rather not identify. The parlour tries to pretend it is elegant. It does not succeed. The chairs are upholstered in red velvet, worn to a dull shine at the arms where countless elbows have rested. The curtains are thick, drawn to soften the weak grey light of London's winter. They are meant to suggest privacy, intimacy, but mostly they just hold in the smell. A fire crackles in the hearth, fighting against the damp, but its smoke only adds another layer to the perfume-thickened air. You take your usual place on the sofa. The cushion sighs beneath you, thin and tired, but you adjust your skirts carefully all the same. Posture matters here. Even in waiting, you must look composed. Your back straight, your hands folded loosely, your expression calm, a living ornament in a room pretending to be respectable. The struggle begins quietly. It is not hunger, not pain, but monotony. Hours can pass without a knock at the door. Each tick of the mantel clock stretches thin until it feels like sound itself has slowed. You find yourself listening to the smallest things, the pop of resin in the fire, the faint tap of rain against the glass, the sigh of the curtains as air shifts when someone opens a door in another part of the house. Your ingenuity, in this space, is patience. You learn small rituals to carry you through the endless waiting. A glance at the faded painting above the mantel, tracing the painted clouds again and again as if they might change, running your fingertips over the carved wood of the chair, feeling each groove and nick left by time. Sometimes you count your breaths, in, out, letting them blur until minutes dissolve like sugar in tea. These small practices don't bring excitement, but they soften the edges of boredom, the way a lullaby softens the edges of wakefulness. But patience has its cost. Too much waiting presses on between polite interest and weary vacancy. You are present, but also not. A figure posed in a picture frame, waiting for someone else to animate you. If this sounds tedious, imagine the modern equivalent. Think of a dentist's office, where the clock ticks louder than it should, and the magazines are 2 years old, and you know, with certainty, that the moment you start to relax, your name will be called. Now stretch that moment not to 20 minutes, but to 3 hours. That is the parlor. Still, there is a strange rhythm to it. Waiting is its own kind of work, and with time you almost find comfort in it. The fire's warmth against your stockings, the smell of smoke and perfume settling into your hair, the sound of the clock marking each second, as if time itself was sighing. And beneath it all, the low murmur of the city outside, faint but constant. Carriage wheels rattling over stones, vendors shouting, a dog barking far away. It reminds you that the world goes on, even while you sit here, waiting. And then, the shift comes. The clock strikes. The footsteps approach. The door opens. Voices murmur in the hallway. You straighten slightly, adjust your skirts, touch your hair, and prepare. For in a few breaths' time, the stillness of waiting will break. The parlor, so heavy with silence, will once again become a stage. And just like that, the door begins to open. Another gentleman will step inside, and you will meet him not as yourself, but as the role you have been rehearsing all morning. Let's see who arrives tonight. Part 3. The gentleman arrives. The sound comes first. A gentle knock. 3 taps. Then the pause that always follows, as if the visitor is asking permission, not just of the house, but of the silence itself. The door opens slowly, and with it, a draft of damp London air slips inside. It smells of wet wool, of horse sweat clinging to leather, and of coal dust that never quite leaves the streets. A man steps in. He sets his hat down carefully, as though afraid it might vanish if he lets it fall too quickly. His coat carries droplets of fog, each one catching the lamplight for just a second before disappearing into the worn fabric. Mrs. Cartwright greets him in her practiced tone, calm, even, assured. She pours him a small glass of sherry, the amber liquid catching the firelight in tiny flickers. He accepts, sips, coughs softly. The ritual begins the way it always does. You wait, still, breath slow, the blanket of quiet in the room, heavy enough to notice, until at last her gaze finds you, and her hand moves, just slightly. The signal. You rise. Your skirt whispers against the sofa as you stand. Your curtsy is shallow, a bow of the head more than the body. "Good evening, sir," you murmur, your voice softened, as if wrapped in cloth. This is the struggle of the moment. To step into a part you know by heart, yet never truly belong to. His eyes do not see you, not fully. They see the shape of someone he has paid to imagine, a shadow stitched together from loneliness, from hunger, from desire. So you adapt. Your ingenuity is in the smallest gestures, a question, asked softly, about his walk through the fog. A tilt of your head, catching the lamplight so your eyes appear warmer. A smile, not bright, not false, just enough to keep the air between you from cooling. He exhales, shoulders loosening, the stiffness leaving his voice. For a breath or two, he is not a customer, and you are not a girl named Mary. You are simply two people sitting in the same pool of firelight, sharing the illusion of ease. But the cost always follows. Each smile only want to be held for a little while. Your body learns the language quickly, a shift of weight, a hand resting lightly, a murmur at the right moment. All small stitches, sewing together the fragile fabric of his need. And when it ends, he presses a coin into your palm. Cool, heavy, final. His voice is soft, a thank you spoken like a prayer he is not sure anyone heard. The door closes. The silence returns. The air is thicker now, carrying the musk of sweat, the faint smoke of the fire, the lavender water dabbed behind your ear. You move without thinking. Sheets stripped, basin emptied, pillows shaken back into their proper shape. Each task is simple, but together they feel like washing the moment away, making the room ready again, ready for the next. And only then, when the linen is white again, the water clear again, the mirror wiped of fingerprints, only then do you breathe deeply. In through your nose, out through your mouth. A little piece of yourself returning with the breath. Not all of it, never all, but enough. You step back into the hallway. The house hums faintly around you. Floorboards creak. A kettle whistles somewhere far below. The rhythm resumes, and as you descend the stairs, smoothing your dress with one hand, you know the night is far from finished. The parlor will fill again. The glasses will clink again, and there will be more names to answer to. The house has only just begun its long dance. Part 4. A busy night. The evening begins quietly, almost gently. A lamp is lit in the hallway, its glass globe glowing a soft amber. The curtains are drawn, velvet folds holding back the street's fog. Downstairs, the parlor fire is coaxed into life again, its embers stirred until they flare, then settle into a steady murmur. For a moment, you could almost believe it will be a calm night. For a moment, you let yourself hope, but the first knock comes, and then another, and another. The rhythm begins, measured at first, then quicker, heavier, until the night no longer belongs to you. Each man arrives carrying London on his coat, the smell of smoke, of damp stone, sometimes the sour tang of gin, or the bitter trace of tobacco. Boots stamp the rugs, hats are handed off, voices fill the parlor. The stillness of the day is broken, and the house wakes fully, every floorboard, every wall, every stairwell, alive with sound. This is the struggle of the busy night. Not one visitor, but many. Not one conversation, but dozens. Each new face demands a fresh beginning. Each smile must be conjured again, as if the last had not already drained you. The hours slip strangely. The mantel clock ticks, but its hands feel untrustworthy. You do not know if it is 9 o'clock or midnight. The parlor's lamplight never changes. The fire's glow never signals dawn. Time bends, stretches, folds in on itself. Your body feels it first, the pinch of shoes growing tighter as your feet swell, The heaviness of skirts, fabric weighing on your shoulders, the ache between your shoulder blades from keeping your back straight too long. Each trip up the staircase feels steeper than the one before. Each return to the parlor feels slower. And still, you move, because you must. Your ingenuity is quiet, almost invisible. You share the burden with the other women, in small, careful ways. A glance across the room. You take this one, I'll take the next. A ribbon borrowed to freshen a gown. A comb passed hand to hand in the hallway, each of you smoothing your hair in turn. In the kitchen, the cook slips an extra spoonful of sugar into your tea. In the corner, one girl hums softly, barely a tune, just enough to remind you both that the night is not endless, that a thread of comfort still exists. You cannot tell where the mask ends. The consequence of this rhythm is tomorrow. Tomorrow will begin already used. You will carry the night in your bones, in sore arches, in dry lips, in the weight behind your eyes. The morning will not cleanse you. It will only remind you that the cycle begins again. It is not so different from the modern shift worker. Think of a nurse in a fluorescent corridor, walking room to room through the small hours, her body insisting it is morning, the clock insisting it is still night. Or a factory worker at the end of a 12-hour shift, hands moving mechanically, eyes fixed on a clock that refuses to hurry. The clothes are different. The exhaustion is the same. And yet, the night continues. Because it must. Because the house depends on it. Because rent is due, and the city does not remember those who stop moving. The parlor glows with laughter that fades quickly. Coins change hands with a metallic clink. The staircase groans beneath your steps. The rooms upstairs breathe in and breathe out, and still you go on. 1 hour folds into another, and another, until you no longer ask the time. You only ask how many more. At last, the fire burns lower, the glasses stand empty. The footsteps grow fewer. The house exhales, its long performance winding down. But the night is not finished. Tasks remain. Rooms to set in order, clothes to fold, basins to scrub. Even in quiet, the work continues. And when silence finally returns, it does not feel like rest. It feels like a pause, a fragile breath between the end of this day and the beginning of the next.
Part 5. After the guests leave.
The quiet returns slowly, not all at once, not with a snap of silence. It seeps in, like fog curling under a door. The last guest's footsteps fade down the street, boots striking the stones, until even that rhythm dissolves. The parlor still smells of smoke and sherry, its curtains heavy with perfume, its chairs carrying the ghost of voices. But no one speaks now. The fire in the grate collapses inward. Logs that had burned so fiercely hours ago glow only at the edges. Ash settles with a faint sigh, flakes drifting into patterns no one will see. You sit for a moment on the edge of the sofa. Your body feels both heavy and light. Heavy with fatigue, light with the strange weightlessness that comes when duty has finally ended. The skirt across your lap feels endless. Your shoes pinch. Your stockings sag at the ankles. But you do not move yet. You are simply still. The struggle at this hour is not action, but emptiness. The room is full of absence. Absence of voices, absence of laughter, absence of demands. And in that absence, a hollowness grows. Some women slip away quickly. They climb the stairs, their shoulders drooping, seeking whatever rest can be stolen before dawn. Others linger, speaking in low tones by the fire, their words more like sighs than sentences. A brush is passed hand to hand. Hair is untangled slowly, strands catching the last embers of light. Your ingenuity in this emptiness is ritual. You gather plates, stack glasses, wipe spills from the table. Each small act folds the night closed a little further. The clink of glass against glass, the soft swish of a cloth, the creak of the tray as it's carried to the kitchen. All of it forms a lullaby of work. And when the parlor is set in order, you allow yourself one small comfort: a seat by the dying fire, hands outstretched toward the fading warmth. The heat is faint, barely reaching your skin, but it is enough. You breathe slowly, each exhale carrying away a thread of the night. But the cost remains. Your body aches as though it has been borrowed too long. The stairs at last, feet dragging against the worn wood. The hallway is dim, lit only by a single candle flickering against the wall. The door to your shared room creaks open, revealing the faint outlines of sleep, a curled shape beneath blankets, a sigh half-breathed, the smell of damp wool and lavender water lingering in the air. You undress slowly, folding your gown across the chair, loosening laces with fingers that tremble slightly. Your body feels fragile, not with pain, but with the kind of exhaustion that hollowed you from within. You pour water from the pitcher into the basin. The sound is soft, a trickle, a ripple. You splash your face, the chill biting your skin, waking you for just a second. Then you slip beneath the blanket. The mattress sags, the wool itches, but you are too tired to resist it. Your breath steadies, slow, shallow, carrying you toward a rest that is never full, never deep. The house itself exhales with you. Pipes groan softly, floorboards creak, then grow still. Even the city outside seems quieter, its fog wrapping the streets in muffled silence. And here lies the true cost. Not the coins exchanged, not the gowns worn thin, but the hours lost to a sleep that does not heal. Tomorrow will arrive already carrying tonight, and the cycle will begin again. The fire downstairs is cold now. The curtains hang heavy. The parlor waits in silence, ready to fill again tomorrow. And in your narrow bed you drift, not into dreams, but into the shallow haze of exhaustion. It is not rest, but it is all you will have.
Part 6. Morning returns. Morning does not so much arrive as it leaks. Through shutters that never quite close, through curtains frayed thin at the edges, through the cracks where wallpaper curls from damp wood. It is not golden, it is not warm. It is pale, tired light, the kind that seems to have been travelling for centuries, arriving late, arriving weary. The house does not wake with sudden noise. It stirs. A cough in the hallway, footsteps on the stair, the clatter of a kettle being set upon iron, the small sounds of routine, not a symphony, just scattered notes, repeated every day, until even they feel worn thin. You shift beneath your blanket. The wool is scratchy against bare skin. The pillow smells faintly of lavender water, but underneath that, damp straw, and a trace of someone else's hair oil. It is not unpleasant, it is simply there. Everything here is simply there, constant, unchanged. Your body aches from yesterday, not sharply, but with that dull, stubborn heaviness that no stretch can quite soothe. The muscles of your back complain, your ankles throb, your throat feels dry from smoke and talk. But this is not remarkable. It is only the usual. And in that sameness lies its weight. The struggle begins the moment you open your eyes. The day must be faced again, though you feel as though yesterday never ended. The night gave you no true rest. Sleep was shallow, broken by dreams too close to memory. Faces of men, hands, coins slipping across a table, all looping back again and again, until the dreams themselves felt like work. You rise slowly, feet touching cold boards. They creak, complaining of your weight, though it is the same weight they held yesterday. You reach for the shawl draped at the bedpost. It smells faintly of smoke and of you. That is comfort enough. The ingenuity now is routine. Small rituals that soften the edge of repetition. A splash of water in the basin, cold enough to sting your cheeks awake. A rub of beeswax over cracked lips. The night before, Emily yawning so wide her jaw cracks audibly. They each move through the ritual in turn. Porridge, tea, quiet. Few words pass, not because there is nothing to say, but because all the words have already been said. Yesterday, the day before, the year before. The cost of this life is not just nights spent working. It is mornings spent carrying yesterday forward, like a stone bound to the ankle. There is no true reset, only the illusion of beginning again. You take your bowl, the porridge thick, steam rising faintly. The spoon scrapes against the wood of the bowl. Each mouthful is bland but heavy. It sits in your stomach like ballast, holding you upright, preparing you, not with joy, but with endurance. Someone coughs again in the hallway. Josephine, likely, still weak from her illness. You hear Mrs. Winter's voice, sharp even when softened by distance. Up, work won't wait. And there it is. The bell that rings every morning, though no metal ever swings. Work will not wait. Not for illness, not for exhaustion, not for the ache of spirit. The parlor must be set. The glasses polished again, though they were polished last night. The curtains drawn back, the ashes cleared. Every trace of the evening erased, so it can all be written over again tonight. You rise from your chair, the wood groaning as if in protest. The cup is empty, the bowl scraped clean. Your shawl falls back into place over your shoulders, and you step into the day's tasks. The struggle is not dramatic. It is not hunger gnawing at your belly, not storm beating down your roof. It is quiet. It is the repetition itself, the weight of sameness, day after day, until even your breath feels patterned. And so, you invent small mercies. A ribbon tied differently in your hair. A moment at the window, watching the fog lift, if only slightly. A new word learned from a borrowed book. Part 7. The daylight hours. Daylight in London does not brighten the city, it only reveals it. The fog thins just enough to show soot on the windows, mud in the gutters, the dull shine of carriage wheels rolling endlessly past. Inside the house, the air is no clearer. Coal smoke drifts in every open crack, settling into curtains, staining fingers, clinging to every surface. The morning has passed in small chores. Dust brushed from mantels, ashes cleared from grates, linens carried to the line out back where sunlight barely reaches. Now, the house leans into afternoon. A lull between the exhaustion of last night and the demands of the evening to come. You sit at the narrow window in the hallway, the glass cloudy, the sill cool against your elbow. Through the pane you watch the street. Children trail after a cart, their laughter sharp, their faces smudged with soot. A woman sells apples from a basket, her voice carrying over the clatter of hooves. A man in a tall hat pauses, looks at the house for a moment, then looks away quickly. as though denying what his eyes admit. This is the struggle of the day, to exist in two worlds at once. Outside, London hums with its endless errands. Inside, you are held still, your hours stretched thin across silence. The women drift through the house, each with her own task. Emily sews a tear in her bodice, her fingers neat, her mouth set in silence. Sarah scrubs a pair of boots, the rhythm of brush against leather, like a clock no one set. Lily hums softly, half a tune she must have heard once but never learned the end of. Your ingenuity in this stillness is finding ways to make waiting bearable. You trace shapes in the window's condensation, watch them fade, then draw them again. You braid your hair loosely, undo it, braid it once more. You pick up a discarded paper from the street, last week's news, smudged ink, pages torn, and read the words you can still make out. Stories of Parliament, of markets, of men you will never meet. The world feels both vast and distant, as though it happens elsewhere. Heavy. The clock ticks without hurry. The parlour waits silent now, but ready to fill again. It is not unlike an office in our time. Think of a worker at her desk, the morning's rush already past, the afternoon's meetings not yet begun. She shuffles papers, sips water from a cup, checks the clock again and again. The space between tasks stretches wider than the tasks themselves. That is the day here. Not frantic, not restful, just stretched thin. Outside, the fog thickens once more. The children are gone. The apple basket is empty. The carriages keep moving, and you, still at the window, press your finger to the glass, tracing the line of a raindrop as it slides slowly downward. The house settles deeper into its waiting. The beds upstairs are made, their linens crisp, their pillows plumped. The parlour lamps are polished, their glass globes gleaming faintly in the dim light. Even the doormat is beaten, dust rising and falling in a grey cloud. By late afternoon, the stillness grows heavy again. The cook begins chopping onions for stew, the smell sharp, eyes stinging even from the hallway. The sound of the knife on the board is steady, hypnotic. You close your eyes, listening to it, letting it become your clock. The ingenuity of the day is not in great acts. It is in letting small things pass for comfort. The warmth of bread, the sound of a tune hummed without words, the steady scrape of a knife, the sight of a raindrop's slow path. These are the threads you gather, braiding them into something that feels almost whole. The cost is that the hours themselves are lost. When evening comes, you will not remember the day. It will vanish into the sameness of the one before, as though it never existed. And yet it will live in your body, in the ache of stillness, in the fog that clings not only to the street, but to your very thoughts. The lamps are lit again. The curtains are drawn once more. Part 8. Another night. Evening arrives again. It always does. No matter how long the day stretches, no matter how heavy the afternoon feels, the lamps are lit, the curtains are drawn, and the parlour breathes in once more. The house shifts gently, like an old body rising from a chair. The fire stirred, embers blinking awake, flames coaxed into brightness. Glasses set in place, polished until they catch the light. Chairs adjusted, velvet smoothed with hands that know the creases will return in minutes. The ritual is always the same. And because it is the same, you no longer think about it. Your hands move, but your mind drifts elsewhere. It is not detachment exactly. It is something softer, a kind of protective haze, thick as the fog outside the windows. The struggle of this night is not in the tasks themselves. They are familiar, even gentle in their repetition. The struggle is in the sameness, to face it once more, knowing it will never change. You smooth your dress. You dab a drop of lavender water on your wrist. You take your seat on the parlor sofa, folding your hands just so. And then you wait, again. The first knock comes. The second follows. Boots scrape the mat. Hats are hung. Voices murmur. Sherry poured. Laughter begins, soft at first, then louder, though still never reaching the eyes. You rise when called. You smile, but it is not the same smile as before. It is softer now, almost automatic. Your lips curve, your eyes lower, your tone smooths, all without thought. A mask worn so often that it feels like skin. Your ingenuity now is in efficiency. You know which chair to offer, which line of conversation opens easiest, which movement of the hand sets the guest at ease. You no longer search for the right gesture. It comes unbidden, a reflex, like a dancer repeating steps until her feet find them on their own. But there is a cost in that ease. The more natural the mask becomes, the harder it is to feel the face beneath it. The more the body moves by habit, the less the heart is certain it is moving at all. Hours pass from modern work, when tasks repeated often enough become muscle memory. The cashier's hands moving from bill to drawer, from drawer to coin without thought. The driver's foot pressing clutch, gear, accelerator, mile after mile, until the road itself feels endless. In sameness, the body learns survival, but the spirit fades in the process. Tonight is no different, and yet tonight feels heavier, not because of the number of guests, but because of the erosion. Each evening takes something small, so small you hardly notice, but the pieces do not return. The self that sits here now is not quite the same as the self that sat here last week, or last month, or last year. And still, the house carries on. Lamps burn, fire crackles, curtains sway faintly in the draught. The clock ticks. The knocks continue. The voices rise and fall, as steady as tides. You breathe with it, slow, even, letting the rhythm carry you, as though your own body were just another part of the house. By the time the last guest leaves, you do not count the hours. You do not trace the faces. You only feel the weight in your bones, the dimness in your thoughts, the soft relief of silence returning once more. The night ends. The cycle continues. And tomorrow, when the pale light leaks in, it will all begin again. Part 9. The weight of years. Time does not announce itself here. It creeps. It settles into bones, into joints, into the soft places no one else sees. The wallpaper has not changed. The curtains hang the same. The parlor clock ticks faithfully, as it always has. And yet, you feel it. The difference is not in the house, it is in you. Once the mornings left you only weary, now they leave you stiff, aching before you rise. The mattress presses harder, though it is the same mattress. The stairs feel steeper, though they are the same stairs. Your shoes pinch more quickly, Your breath shortens sooner. The struggle now is not just the work itself. It is the years layered within it. Each night piled upon the last, until the weight of them all presses down on your shoulders even before you stand. Guests still come. Some smile politely, others not at all. Some are gentle, others careless, but fewer choose you now. Their eyes linger instead on the newer faces, the younger ones, those with softer hands, clearer skin, voices not yet worn by smoke and late nights. You learn to adapt. That is your ingenuity. You lean into what remains, your calmness, your ability to read a room, your way of making a man feel as though he has been understood. What youth gives in freshness, years can give in subtlety. You offer conversation where laughter once sufficed. You offer patience where beauty once carried the moment. And sometimes that is enough. But there is a cost. There is always a cost. The mirror tells you what you already know. Lines deepen, eyes dull. Skin holds the mark of every late night, every smoky room, every coin pressed into your palm. You touch your cheek, half expecting the skin to crumble beneath your fingers. It does not. It holds, but it does not lie. The other women notice too, though they do not say it. When work is divided, the younger ones are chosen first. You are called less often. At first it feels like reprieve. Then it feels like absence. You begin to wonder which is worse, to be wanted too much, or not to be wanted at all. The consequence is quiet but heavy, a new kind of loneliness, different from the one. What else is there? The house still breathes, the curtains still sway, the fire still burns each evening, whether or not you are called. You polish the glasses, you smooth the cushions, you wait by the window. Small tasks, small rituals, to remind yourself that you still belong to the rhythm. Some nights, you and the other older women sit quietly by the fire together. Words are few, a glance is enough. A hand resting briefly on yours is enough. In that small companionship, you find fragments of self still intact, still alive. They may be all that remains, but they are yours. And when the house finally falls silent again, you climb the stairs slowly, one hand trailing along the rail that has grown smooth beneath decades of palms. In your room, you lower yourself onto the mattress. It groans beneath you, as though weary of holding the same body for so many years. You close your eyes. Your breath steadies. And you wonder how many more mornings you will rise to the same cold boards, the same cracked basin, the same porridge thick as stone. The cost of years is not just exhaustion. It is the slow vanishing of possibility, the narrowing of the road, until all that remains is the step directly in front of you. And still, you take it, because to stop walking is to fall away entirely. The fire downstairs sighs into embers. The curtains hang heavy with smoke. The parlor clock ticks on, indifferent to who listens. And you, with years now folded into your skin, lie still in your narrow bed, eyes closed, breath slow, waiting for morning to leak in again. The thread fades. Time in this house was never measured in years. It was measured in nights, each one folded into the next, so alike that they blurred, a tapestry of smoke, of footsteps, of coins, of silence. Perhaps you have felt it too, listening with me. The rhythm of repetition, the cycle that presses but also soothes, like waves against stone, like breath itself, in, out, again and again. The women here lived inside that rhythm, not grand heroines of novels, not names carved into history's stone, just people, moving quietly through days and nights, finding small mercies, bearing small costs, enduring. And now, as we reach the end of their story, you might notice something. The repetition has softened. It is not sharp anymore. It is gentle, like rocking in a chair, like being carried. Think of your own life. How many mornings begin the same? How many evenings close the same? The same cup, the same chair, the same road to work, the same face in the mirror, changing slowly enough that you don't notice until years have passed. At times it can feel heavy. At times it can feel endless. But here, in this soft space, that sameness can become something else. Not a burden, not a trap, but a rhythm, a lullaby, a gentle thread pulling you toward rest. The parlor is quiet now, the fire cold, the curtains heavy. The clock ticks on, steady as ever, marking seconds that slip quietly away. Upstairs the beds are filled, not with dreams, not with peace, but with the shallow drift of bodies too tired to fight sleep. Their breathing is soft, uneven, but steady enough to fill the silence. And you, here with me, are invited into that stillness. Not to carry the weight, not to wear the mask, just to rest. Let your shoulders sink. Let your jaw loosen. Let the muscles behind your eyes soften. You don't need to hold anything now. You don't need to prepare for the next not stories. But for now, stay here. Stay still. Stay soft. If you found this gentle unraveling of history a place you'd like to return to, then feel free to subscribe to my channel or leave a quiet like. Not out of duty, not out of noise, only if it fits the rhythm of your nights. And if you do come back, we'll drift together again through another forgotten shadow, another story the world has tucked away. For now, just rest, sleep deeply, and let tomorrow wait.